Hello and welcome. This is the earnings special, and we're covering earnings for Mindtree, where we've seen numbers come in which are fairly steady, and they're also in line with consensus expectations. The stock, however, is taking a little bit of a beating, and let's take and talk about this quarter gone by and perhaps the outlook with the management of the company. We have Rostow Ravanan, the CEO and MD of the company, in conversation with us. Mr. Ravanan, good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining us. Let me just start off by talking about some of the concerns that I've been reading and I've been getting from a lot of the analysts who cover the company very closely. Well, among the few of the concerns here that have been mentioned is perhaps the macros here, especially in Europe and America. And there has been a suggestion that while clients have been extending their terms, the terms here are more short-term as compared to long-term. So if you could just give us an idea about the outlook going forward, and also how would you respond to this particular variable that I was talking about?
Good afternoon. I'm happy to be with you on Bloomberg Quint. I'm not sure if we are seeing the same kind of issues that the analyst community is seeing, but typically, you would always expect, operational management works with a different time horizon and different expectations compared to the investment community, and that mismatch occasionally then shows in the reaction to stock prices. But from our point of view, we are actually seeing a stable and a steady kind of a momentum for us, continuing the growth momentum we had over the last 2 or 3 quarters, continue to see good traction, continue to see good win ratios, where we are competing against very, very large players and still winning a fair amount of business, continue to see deal sizes grow and deals becoming longer term. Even if you look at this quarter, we had a $271 million worth of deal wins, which is a $70 million higher number compared to same quarter last year. So overall wins have increased. Even when you break that up by less than 1 year, more than 1 year, all of those factors are quite positive for us. Hope to continue this kind of a growth momentum even over the next the remainder of this financial year, as well as over the future as well. Just to sort of put it in perspective, our growth in H1 this year compared to H1 last year was very strong at 19% plus. Our growth in H1 this year was a 10% plus growth over H2 last year. So overall, like I said, revenue traction is good, and continuing to see bottom line growth faster than top line growth. Even if you look at this quarter compared to the previous quarter, compared to Q1, bottom line growth was very, very strong. So that momentum of both good revenue growth and bottom line growth faster than top line growth is expected to continue. Don't see any change to that view.
So, Mr. Ravanan, is it safe to assume that there is no dampening of sentiment from the client side, and also there are not any major worries when it comes to macros, especially with respect to geographies that you operate in Europe and America?
No, that's probably a difficult conclusion to make, because it is inevitable, given all the environment in the world that we are living in right now, increased risk of trade wars, complete uncertainty on what's happening in Brexit. Some of those factors have, the volatility has definitely increased on some of those kind of parameters. But we think we have a business model, customer confidence, a world-class talent base, etc., that is going to help us navigate through that uncertainty. But there is no doubt that some of the external uncertainty has become worse. But like I said, we think we'll be able to navigate through that, because we have many things going in our favor at the moment.
Right, Mr. Ravanan, then let me talk about your vertical specifically. Your largest vertical, that is high tech and media, has seen, again, relatively strong growth this time around as well. Can you tell us a little more about the kind of trends that you are witnessing on ground at this point in time in this vertical?
We're doing some very, very path-breaking, very innovative, very impactful kind of work for our customers in our high-tech vertical. High-tech, travel, and retail CPG are 3 segments where we are seeing an enormous amount of interest from customers to innovate using digital as a technology. And we are part of all those conversations with those customers. In many cases, we have a seat at the table with business leaders, channelizing those conversations, helping them make those, both business change sort of choices as well as technology choices. So high tech is one of the verticals where our digital story is resonating very, very well, and that's leading to growth for us from a business point of view.
Right. Mr. Ravanan, when it comes to the banking financial services vertical, last year particularly was not that great for the entire industry, and that was probably the case even for the year before that. However, the industry, specifically your peers and for Mindtree as well, has starting to see a little bit of recovery in this particular vertical. It's a very important vertical for the industry. Can you tell us about whether or not there is a change in the client requirements this time around from financial services space as compared to what we used to see about a couple of years ago, and what are these changes, if at all?
Speaking only with respect to our portfolio of customers in the BFSI business, and therefore unable to comment on what the rest of the industry is seeing, but only speaking with respect to our own assessment, we see our customers in BFSI by and large still predominantly more focused on getting efficiencies, cost reductions, reliability improvements, etc. within their portfolio, not seeing as much of an upside or as much of an uptake of newer, innovative, grow the business kind of opportunities in our BFSI business compared to our other three verticals. So the business is doing well, we are growing, but the nature of the demand we are seeing within our BFSI customers, I would say, is proportionally more on the run the business side of their, of the portfolio rather than grow the business side of the portfolio. And to that extent, there's a little bit of a change in the way we are seeing our BFSI customers react compared to our other three verticals.
Right. Mr. Ravanan, I can't let you go without answering on the impact that the rupee depreciation has had on margins. Can you tell us a little more about that?
I'm not going anywhere. You can ask me as many questions as you want. Quite happy to answer and interact, with your audience.
Right.
The rupee depreciation in this quarter gave us a benefit of about 130 basis points, all of which flew through to the bottom line. So we are not at this point of time doing anything judgmentally to take that benefit and make any investments, etc. Our investments are calibrated to our business plan, and therefore we don't need to do anything judgmentally on the rupee benefit, nor are we currently seeing any pressure from customers, etc., to utilize it for them, nor seeing competition trying to do something with it. So overall, our sense is operationally, Mindtree is continuing on the same trajectory that we saw in the beginning of the year. Strong revenue growth, bottom line growth faster than top line growth on an operational basis. Anything that comes or goes because of currency will continue to sort of flow through to the bottom line. So that's the same picture that we have. A 1% change in the rupee is usually somewhere between a 35 to 40 basis points impact to margins. And as of now, nothing has happened to change that equation. So depending on how the rupee behaves quarter to quarter, that's the kind of impact we'll see through to our bottom line.
And final question, sir. At least one report seemed to suggest that Q3 is expected to be largely in line with what we've seen in Q2. In that case, if you could leave us with some sort of outlook for perhaps the top line and the bottom line. I'm not asking for an exact guidance, but some sort of an outlook. And perhaps if you could tell us about what are the possibilities that could challenge the outlook as we move into the next couple of quarters.
Specifically with respect to Q3, the comment that we shared with both the media and the investment community, the financial community, was that we expect growth to be around the same kind of a level as what we saw in Q2. Many positives in terms of customer traction, pipeline, and so on and so forth. But the headwinds are around seasonality and macro factors. But net of both all the positives and the negatives, we expect Q3 to be a similar growth trajectory compared to Q2 from a top line perspective. And like we have shown in the past, the bottom line growth, margins from an operational perspective, excluding any impact of currency, operationally probably will be slightly better in Q3 compared to Q2.
Okay, Mr. Ravanan, we'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for joining us and taking us through the numbers as well as the outlook for the company.
Thank you.